What's going on, bottom line viewers and Pats fans? Pats Nation, man, is it great to come at you with some great news. Because I'm happy, I hope you're happy as well. The Patriots have hired their new offensive coordinator. The return of Billy O'Brien is back with the New England Patriots. If for whatever reason you are not familiar, Bill O'Brien used to be the Patriots offensive coordinator between the years 2009 and 2011 before moving on as a head coach of Penn State. Kind of revamping, retooling that program, bringing them to success, and then being hired by the Houston Texans, bringing them to their most sustained success over the last decade. And then he was fired. All right. Back on his feet with Alabama as their offensive coordinator. But this is a guy with plenty of experience as a head coach in college and the pros, as a offensive mind, an offensive coordinator, a quarterback coach in New England, in college with Alabama. Does have familiarity with Mac Jones. You probably heard the story. Mac Jones actually taught Bill O'Brien some of the core philosophy and concepts of the Alabama offense before Bill O'Brien took that offensive coordinator role a couple years ago. So they are familiar with each other, which does mean good things for Mac Jones moving forward at the quarterback position. And man, I just have to say this. It just brings competence back to the New England Patriots offense. It brings competence. Last season was one of the most frustrating, if not the most frustrating Patriots season I've ever witnessed, mostly because it was the first year I really felt that the New England Patriots, as a fan, had a bad coaching staff, had a below average, inept coaching staff, especially on offense, led by Matt Patricia, led by Joe Judge. This offense was a disaster, not from really a talent perspective. We'll get into that in a second, more so from a philosophy, detail standpoint. And that's what we get. We get an adult in the building. We get competence back in the building. We get a guy that has head coach experience, a guy that has experience coaching multiple quarterbacks, a guy that has experience coaching Tom Brady, a guy that has experience going to the playoffs as a head coach, going to the Super Bowl as an offensive coordinator. So this is a guy that has played, called offense in big games, right? And Bill O'Brien, what I love about him in particular and the matchup with Mac Jones is similar reasons why I believe Bill O'Brien and Tom Brady worked. And that is to do with Bill O'Brien's personality. From a personality standpoint, Bill O'Brien is feisty. Bill O'Brien is competitive. Bill O'Brien is a bit nasty. Bill O'Brien is a guy that's going to get in your face, and he's not afraid to speak his mind, which I think is needed in multiple realms of this organization. It's needed in terms of the Bill Belichick relationship, because I feel like Matt Patricia, I love Matty P more than other people. Clearly, he was way too above his head in terms of the offensive side of the football this year, running the offensive line and the offense. But Bill O'Brien is somebody that's going to speak his mind to Bill Belichick. And I don't ever feel like Matt Patricia was that guy. I don't ever feel like Joe Judge was that guy. I feel like they were a little bit more of yes men. Now, I don't know the details in the organization, but just from watching from afar and understanding and reading and that sort of thing, I kind of get that sense. Bill O'Brien has been a head coach. Bill O'Brien has been a general manager. Bill O'Brien has been a runner of a program. So he understands what it takes, but he's also got the respect of Belichick to speak his mind and give his thoughts for what's going on with New England, what's going wrong with New England. And when you're a Bill Belichick, you need somebody to be willing to step up to you. You need somebody to be willing to speak up to you. You need somebody willing to get in your face and tell you the truth. Because when you're this legendary GOAT head coach, a lot of the times guys don't want to talk to you that way because they don't want to be thrown under the bus. They don't want to be fired. And they're scared because you're this mythological figure. With Bill O'Brien, he doesn't give an F. So that's what I like about Bill O'Brien. But not only that, he's somebody that is that competitive guy that goes toe-to-toe and head-to-head and side by side, most importantly, with Mac Jones. Mac Jones is, as much as you may think he didn't play well this year, the one thing we know about Mac Jones is he's competitive. He's competitive. And the reason why he was so angry all the time is because he wants to be playing better. He wants this team to win. He wants to succeed. And I love that from my quarterback, and I love that from my offensive coordinator. That's what we loved about Tom Brady. That's what I love about this hire from Bill O'Brien. So before we even get to the offense, just from a personality standpoint, it works in this organization, and it's what this organization needs from the coach standpoint and from the quarterback standpoint. Then once you move on from there, okay, there's going to be some people that don't like Bill O'Brien or are skeptical of him because of what he did in Houston. But I will say, go back and look at what he actually did in Houston and look at how Houston has been since. Right? As a head coach, he brought success to that team. He brought success to that team without Deshaun Watson and with Deshaun Watson. So it wasn't always Deshaun Watson. He brought success to that team, with Brock Osweiler. They went to the playoffs. So he's a good coach outside of New England, which is what a lot of people look at Josh McDaniels and they say, oh, Josh McDaniels is just a product of New England. Well, actually, Bill O'Brien, has been good without New England. So he's also been elsewhere, right? He's been to Alabama. He's seeing that team grow, that game grow in college, and he can bring new ideas and new concepts to the table to the Patriots offensively and to their team. And to Bill Belichick, okay? These are fresh thoughts, but also he's familiar with the system. On top of that, you have a Bill O'Brien that really the only place where he was uncomfortable and out of his realm and over his head was GM. But he won't be the GM of this team. He's working on offense. And what I love about having somebody like Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator is he's been a head coach, so he understands the head coach role. And he can also sort of be the head coach of the offense. And that can allow more flexibility for Bill Belichick to maybe, mess around with defense where he's really suited, or have more hands-on with the special teams, or just overall not have to kind of look at the offense so hard. And he can kind of trust Bill O'Brien to do his thing offensively, and he won't have to worry about the offense as much as probably he was this year because of how over the head the task was for Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. So we're going from inept, terrible, awful, horrendous, trash to competent, and not only competent, but successful offensive coordinating in the past. So we go to that. So we're getting back. What are we getting back? We're getting back smart game planning. We're getting back a guy that understands how to game plan from the offensive side of the football. We're getting a guy that's game planned from a head coach standpoint, a guy that understands all three phases, a guy that understands how this works, and then also understands how to attack from an offensive standpoint. Big reason the Patriots stunk this year on offense is because we had a guy that was a defensive coach game planning the offensive side of the football, which means inherently he's going to have a view of the game that is more conservative and that is leaning into playing defense, special teams, not turning the ball over. Bill O'Brien has a different attitude. He has an attack attitude, right? An attack attitude. It's not a conservative attitude. It's not a laid back attitude. It's an attack attitude, right? And then we also get, that tough teaching that I feel like is needed for Mac Jones. I feel like Mac Jones needs a teacher that is going to be tough on him. Mac Jones seems like the type of guy where he was successful in Alabama with Nick Saban, It feels like certain players need different things. Mac Jones needs a tough tutor. He needs a guy that's going to get after him, that's going to make him work hard. And I feel like that is Bill O'Brien, and that could help his development. Okay? So I love that. I think that's what Mac responds to the most out of a coach. And I do believe that this offense is going to have more detail, and I think it's going to be a little bit different. So I look at it offensively from a scheme standpoint of what are the Patriots going to be now with Bill O'Brien? Well, I think it's safe to say you can throw the wide zone Kyle Shanahan attack out the window. I think it's safe to say that they tried that last year with nobody in the building that actually understood how to teach it. Because we didn't have anybody from that tree to teach it. We just trusted a guy that was a defensive coach trying to teach it, and it didn't work. So we're moving on from that and moving probably more towards what the Patriots offense has always been, which is the Earhart-Perkins offense. Move from Charlie Weiss to Josh McDaniels to Bill O'Brien. We're going to move back into some of that stuff, which we ran a little bit of last year, but a very, very, very simplistic standpoint from that. And I think we're going to get more of a mix of what Bill O'Brien brought to Houston and Bill O'Brien brought to Alabama. So I think we're going to see a mix of everything. And some of the stuff that he did in Houston and Alabama was, of course, RPO-centric. I think we're going to see Mac Jones running more RPOs and not just the basic handoff bubble screen crap that Matt Patricia was running, but also, a deeper layer to that. We're going to see more stuff that we see from teams like the Eagles. And if you go back and you watch Deshaun Watson play with the Texans, they ran a lot of RPO stuff, and that was because of Bill O'Brien. So I think he's going to bring some of the Alabama aspects back to Mac Jones' game, but I think we're also going to see some of the flavor that he brought to Houston, and I think we're going to get back to more of a power running game from the Earhart-Perkins scheme, and I think we're just going to have a deeper, more detailed passing attack, which I think only helps Mac, because as I said many times throughout the year, if you're stripping back this offense and you're simplifying the offense, you're making the offense, getting it away from what makes Mac Jones a potentially good quarterback in this league. And what I loved about Mac Jones coming into the NFL was the brain power, was the ability to read a defense, was the ability to get through his progressions quickly, was the ability to manipulate the pocket, was the ability to throw the ball accurately. And by having somebody like Bill O'Brien back in the building and running this offense, we're going to get more of a deeper Tom Brady-like attack, which is going to put more power into the quarterback. And we're going to have more detailed, concepts in the passing game, a better drop back passing game. We're probably going to see more play action, which will be great for Mac Jones. And I think we're just going to see playing into Mac Jones's strengths, whether that was the strengths he had at Alabama or the strengths he had as a rookie. I think we're going to see both of that stuff. Okay? So I'm really, really excited about this from a personality standpoint, from an offensive scheme standpoint. One of my favorite offenses in New England was the Bill O'Brien offense. I mean, people forget, but in 2010, Bill O'Brien had Tom Brady and that offense, and he won an MVP that year. That was one of Tom Brady's best years. That was the year Gronk was a rookie. Hernandez was a rookie. They moved on from Randy Moss. They had Wes Welker. They brought back Deion Branch. That was a very good offense. Some of their most successful offenses were in 2010, 2011. 2011, they made the Super Bowl. 2011, they were an offensive team. They were able to win with the 31st defense in the league. I'm not saying this is going to happen in New England now with Mac Jones, because Mac Jones is not Tom Brady. Don't get it twisted. But this is a guy that brought different things to the table. Most specifically, he brought more 2 tight end packages to the offense. That was really Bill O'Brien. Right? They brought in Gronkowski and Hernandez, and now we have Jonnu and Henry. So if we want to get the most out of those 2 guys, maybe this could be the coach that does it, because he did do it before. right? Also, you would think that we maybe go to more of a tempo type of offense, where that's where New England used to have a lot of success with their passing game, during that era, was going to more tempo. And we could see Mac Jones do that and play into some of that, where he has that ability to be the play caller and stuff like that, because that's his strength. His strength is his brain. So I think we could see some of that stuff that I really loved from that era of Patriots offense. Was the tempo, was the 2 tight end package, was the quick, short passing game, the precise, accurate passing game, which is Mac's strength. I think we could see that come back into New England. So I do believe it will be a McDaniels, Alabama, Texans kind of package. Now, from there, I think on top of this hire, I do believe New England is going to go out there and hire a new offensive coordinator. The name that has been thrown out there is Adrian Clem, and some of you older Patriots fans may know who this is. He won 3 Super Bowls with New England. He was the first ever draft pick for Bill Belichick back in the day, and he was actually the offensive line coach of the Steelers for like half a year in 2021, and went to Oregon and actually led the most successful offensive line in college football last year. Looks like they're going to hire him as the offensive line coach. Something New England missed last year was an offensive line coach who knew what he was doing. So that would also be a huge hire if we were to get that, because I don't think a lot of people realize how great your offensive line coach has to be, because what they do with the run game, the O-line coach is so involved in the run scheme, and the combination of the run scheme with the play action scheme and how the blocking is set up for the offense. And a big problem Mac Jones had this year was a lack of protection. A big problem our offense had this year was a lack of protection. Our run game was fine, but it wasn't as good as I thought it could be. And I think bringing in a new offensive line coach who's already familiar with the Patriots, familiar with the system, playing in it, I feel like that would be a huge hire. And I feel like getting both guys from college would be also good for the Patriots, who have felt a little bit stale as of late. So that maybe they could bring some new things to the table from that standpoint. So I would love that hire, absolutely. The question is, what will happen with Matt Patricia and Joe Judge? It does look like Matt Patricia might just be gone. I mean, I think the most likely thing, if Matt Patricia is to be on this staff, is to be in the front office, where he was in 2021. And in terms of Joe Judge, I really would like him to be with the special teams, because I really feel like he was a really good special teams coach. So that's where I would want him to be the most, because he was really successful there. He was part of the Patriots winning Super Bowls on special teams, and the Patriots special teams struggled a lot, and you know how important that is to Bill Belichick. So I do feel like moving Joe Judge to special teams would be ideal. Our defense is pretty much settled. Another area that there's been rumors about for the Patriots is bringing in a receiver coach or somebody to help with the receivers. And we've heard Sean Jefferson, Keenan McCardell. Both guys have gotten some interviews as offensive coordinator types. McCardell, I believe, was interviewing with the Bucs. McCardell was the wide receiver coach, is the wide receiver coach of the Vikings, I believe. Jefferson was with the Cardinals, which Jefferson would make more sense because Jefferson is going through a coaching change with the Cardinals, which would allow him to leave. I feel like McCardell's probably just going to stay with the Vikings if, he doesn't get an offensive coordinator job, because that would just be a lateral move to New England unless they were willing to dish out a lot of money. But the overall theme here is it does feel like New England is willing to dish out some money. New England is willing to identify their issues, identify their problems, and try to fix them and try to attack them. And that's something we didn't see last year from New England. New England was very conservative, very laid back, very suspiciously, just not moving forward last year. And it does definitely feel like Belichick, Kraft, and this team is really aggressively attacking the coaching staff, retooling the coaching staff, rebuilding the coaching staff, a coaching staff that was historic during the 2000s and 2010s. You could argue that was the greatest coaching staff or one of in NFL history. I mean, we had guys coming through this building that are now successful head coaches, Brian Daboll. We had guys like Brian Flores. We have guys, of course, Dante Scarnecchia, of course, Ivan Fears. You look at Pepper Johnson, you look at defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, Chad O'Shea, just different guys across the NFL. Boyer with the Dolphins. A lot of guys that were just position coaches that have been very successful as coordinators, as head coaches. So, the Patriots are looking to retool that area of their team, and then I think that will also lead into the roster as well. I think they're going to aggressively attack this roster. There are clear needs for this offense, going into what the offense needs. I think Bill O'Brien will probably have some say in the personnel as well. I do definitely feel like if you're going to bring somebody in like Bill O'Brien as your offensive coordinator who's had head coach opportunities, has been a head coach in multiple places, I believe that's going to lead to him having a little bit of power and say and at least, thought of what's going to happen. And I think the most apparent thing that the Patriots need is a number one receiver. Bill O'Brien had DeAndre Hopkins. Bill O'Brien had Brandon Cooks in Houston. I do believe that, and Will Fuller for that matter, I do think that the DeAndre Hopkins rumors are real. I wouldn't get too invested in that, but I definitely feel like New England is going to be looking to upgrade at wide receiver. Remember, we still have Kendrick Bourne. We still have Devontae Parker. We still have Tyquan Thornton under contract. They could move on from Kendrick Bourne. They could move on from Devontae Parker. It did feel like I saw Devontae Parker comment on the Bill O'Brien hired Instagram post. Does feel like Devontae Parker wants to be back with the Patriots. So I could see him back with the Patriots. Kendrick Bourne also liked it. So does feel like Kendrick Bourne will be back as well. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I know Jacoby Myers is a free agent. If I'm being honest with you, I would move on from Jacoby Myers. I like Jacoby Myers, but I just like him. I don't love him. I think he's a good player. I think he's a solid receiver. But if we're going to spend money at a number one receiver role, trade for one, sign one, I think moving on from Jacoby would be the smart move. Because I think having a number one receiver type, whether that's Diop or somebody else, having Kendrick Bourne as the slot receiver, Tyquan Thornton or Devontae Parker as the other outside receiver, that would make a lot of sense from my standpoint. And then having Henry and Jonnu as the tight ends. With Stevenson, potentially you bring back Damian Harris, which I do think will happen for pretty cheap. I do think that makes sense from an offensive personnel standpoint. But I do believe there's a lot of talent here. Now, they also need to look at a tackle, the right tackle. Trent Brown is still signed at the left tackle position. They've got Cole Strange, first-round pick at left guard. David Andrews, really good center. And Onwenu, one of the best right guards in the league. They need to look to upgrade the right tackle. That seems like a very obvious first-round pick. But we'll see what they do. I think the personnel is there. I think the coaching now with the offensive coordinator is in place. Hopefully we hire the offensive line coach. And I really could see New England making a drastic, crucial jump on offense next year. We already know this team is very good on defense. And I'm going to make an entire video about why I believe the Patriots are likely to be a good team next year and a lot better than this year. But this is a great step forward. I'm very happy about Bill O'Brien coming in and being the offensive coordinator because I know he's a good coach and it's been proven in multiple situations. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see Mac Jones bounce back. I'm excited for Mac Jones and the relationship that he may have with Bill O'Brien. And I'm excited for Bill Belichick because it feels like Bill Belichick might be a little bit angry, which I always like Bill Belichick a little bit angry because it feels like now more than ever people are calling him out. Okay? So that is a good thing. If you guys haven't already, Gronk spike the like button. Get those likes up, man. If you have any questions about Bill O'Brien as the offensive coordinator, please ask them right now, or anything related to New England offensively. Please ask them right now, okay? Because I'm going to answer these questions right now, and then we'll be done with, okay? So make sure to Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you're a Pats fan and just kind of scrolling into this video, let's take a look at the comment section. Shout out to everybody that's here live, by the way. We got Mike Larry in the chat, Class 3 buyer. He says the most pressing need is on the offensive line, not receiver. I sort of disagree. I do feel like right tackle is pressing, but I feel like the other 4 spots are pretty good. And I think most of the issue was the coaching of the offensive line and the scheme of the offense. And I think those 2 things are intertwined. I do think right tackle is a pressing need. Not going to disagree there. Isaiah Wynn and Yodny Kajust are both free agents. Maybe they bring back one of those guys. It would probably be Kajust, but not Wynn. And James Ferentz is also a free agent. Would like to have him back as that like 6th offensive lineman. That would be nice. Do I think the D-Hop trade can happen? I think it can happen. Will I be getting my hopes up for it to happen? Probably not. But I definitely feel like New England is in the market to get a receiver. It might not be D-Hop, but I do feel it's going to be somebody. Could it be Brandon Cooks? Maybe. Daniel says the famous Brady and Bob argument shows the type of coach he is. Also, Mac is reportedly excited with the Bill O'Brien hiring. Joshua says get rid of Trent Brown, Miles Bryant, and Aguilar. I would not get rid of Trent Brown. The only thing with Trent Brown is, here's the thing, guys. The reason I wouldn't get rid of Trent Brown, he's extremely cheap for the quality of player that he is. He is a good player. He is a good player. He's, at the very least, an above average left tackle. And he's only making $4 million. That's very rare that you find that. The reason he's only making $4 million is because of his injury history. So the thing with Trent Brown is you need to make sure you have a good swing tackle that can play if Trent Brown is hurt. Because we've seen he has a lot of injury issues, which but he's cheap. So I'd rather have Trent Brown at $4 million than go out there and sign some huge guy or have a rookie at left tackle or something like that. So I would try to have, Trent Brown at left tackle, draft a right tackle, bring back Yodny Kajust, bring in a new O-line coach. That's the way I would go, personally. Coach says, doesn't matter who coaches if no horses, they can only do so much. I do disagree with you. We're seeing Kyle Shanahan with Brock Purdy. I know he has great skill positions, but Brock Purdy, they're in the NFC Championship. Patriots do have good players. That's where I disagree. They do have good players. Hunter Henry is a good player. Ramondre Stevenson's a very good player. David Andrews is a very good player. Michael Onwenu is a very good player. They have very good players. Devontae Parker is a solid player. Kendrick Bourne is a solid player. The only thing they're missing is a very good receiver. It's the only thing they're missing. They've got above average tight ends in terms of talent. They've got above average running backs in terms of talent. They've got good offensive linemen. So the biggest issue with the New England Patriots in 2022 was coaching, period, end of story. Not even close. Mac Jones can be a very good quarterback. He was one of the best rookie quarterbacks we've seen over the past 20 years. So for me, it's like most of the problem was coaching, because coaching elevates solid players into good players and solid players into bad players if it goes in the reverse. Okay, so I think coaching is huge. They do need a right tackle. They do need a wide receiver, but that's not out of the realm of possibility when you talk about how much cap space they have. Aguilar will be gone. He's a free agent. They have like the 3rd or 4th most cap space in the league. So I think they can afford getting a receiver. They can afford bringing in a tackle, whatever they choose to do there. And then you talk about the defense is going to be really good next year, but I'll save that for an entire video. Just laying it out, we might have a top pass rush next year. Judon, Uche, and Christian Barmore is something to build on from a defensive standpoint. So, and that's not even talking about the rest of the defense. So the Patriots, they're not going to be a purely offensive team, but there's definitely a lot to like about just simply elevating your offensive coordinator from a guy that's never even experienced doing it before to a guy that's had success doing it. So that's very exciting. Is Joe Judge still on the staff? So far, yes. I think he'll probably move positions, like I said. He's coached receivers in the past. He's also coached special teams. So we'll see what they do. What are my thoughts if we draft a stud corner in the first round? I mean, I'd be down. I think the thing with the corner position is Jonathan Jones is a free agent. They may choose to move on from him due to his age, and somebody may be willing to pay for him a little bit more than we are. I do think they have the replacement there already for Jonathan Jones, which is Marcus Jones. So I could see them moving on from Jonathan Jones because Jonathan Jones was forced into a perimeter cornerback spot that he's not actually used to playing, right? And Jonathan Jones was a good player this year, but not as good as he usually is because he wasn't playing in his natural nickel position. Maybe they re-sign him and play him at nickel again, but Marcus Jones is the clear future of the nickel position in my opinion, and he didn't really play that this year. Jack Jones is super talented, and I think he'll be a perimeter corner. They've also got Jalen Mills, but I could see Jalen Mills moving to safety because if Devin McCourty retires, that would be the natural fit there, in my opinion. So I do think they could sign a corner or they could draft a corner as well. New England has had a lot of success signing corners in the past. They signed, obviously, Darrelle Revis. They signed Brandon Browner. They signed Stephon Gilmore, somebody named that. They've had a lot of success with signing corners too. Ashton says, do you think Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry do better with Bill O'Brien? So first of all, I'm not exactly sure if both of them will be back. I'm pretty sure Hunter at the very least will be back. But if they are, yes, I think it's pretty clear. Like you're going from guys, I don't think people understand how bad the Patriots coaching on offense was last. Like it was disgusting to watch. It was gross. Like they had no understanding of how to utilize their players. At the very least, I feel like it would be better than last year, if not the best we've seen from those guys with the Patriots. And I would expect a major bounce back from Hunter Henry next year for sure. Any other questions? Big Al says, if they don't get D-Hop, which receiver would you like to see come to the Patriots? Honestly, I don't really know who's available, bro. I'll check free agents. I don't think the free agency class is all that good. I think it would probably be a trade. And there's plenty of receivers that could potentially be traded. I've heard Jerry Jeudy as a name due to the connection of Mac Jones and Alabama and Jerry Jeudy being from Alabama. I wouldn't hate that. So, who are some of these guys in free agency here? So, yeah, this isn't a great free agency class. Like, Juju and Jacoby are really, like, the top names there. So, I don't really think it's going to come... If you're looking for a number one receiver, I don't think it's going to come from free agency. I think it's going to come from a trade. So, I don't really know, to be honest with you, but there are going to be receivers on the trade block. Just don't know who that is yet. Usually it's somebody pretty surprising. Sterling Shepard, he's got too many injuries. I mean, he would be like a last guy type thing. Do I think it's possible that Brady... We could also draft a receiver in the first round. That could also happen. Winris says, do you think it's possible that Brady will return to the Pats? It's possible. I think it's unlikely, but it's possible. I think a lot of people keep saying... The one thing I will say about that question is a lot of people keep saying, oh, New England's not in the position to take on Tom Brady. And I don't agree. I'm pretty high on what New England could do this year. And I think they're a lot more talented than most people give them credit for. I mean, we just won 8 games with literally no offense. So, I don't know. Justin Madden says, would you trade Mac and take Lamar Jackson? It depends what the deal is, because obviously we would have to sign Lamar for a ton of money. So that would be one of the factors. But on the surface, I love Lamar Jackson. So, yeah, I would be down for that. It just depends what it would be. Like, if you're talking about Mac and then, 2 firsts and the contract, then maybe not. But if it's, Mac and, something else, like a first, and then it depends on the contract, too. Like, how much is he going to be paid? He is a running quarterback. So that's a huge part of why he's so good. That would limit his career, obviously. I do think there's been a level of Lamar, though, that hasn't been unlocked with the Ravens. I think the Ravens intend on keeping him, and they moved on from their offensive coordinator for good reason. I think there's a level of Lamar that hasn't been unlocked yet. Okay. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I think we're going to end it here. Thank you for everybody that asked a question. Don't forget to Gronk spike the like button. Subscribe if you're new. If you're a Pats fan, you'll love this channel. Thanks, guys, so much for watching. Billy O to the Pats. I'm pumped. It's just the beginning of a great offseason if you're a New England Patriots fan. Looking forward to 2023. I think it's going to be a great season. All right. See you later. Peace.